All right, ever since the 2021 NBA season, there's been pretty much parity in the NBA. Teams that we expected to potentially make the finals or teams that resulted in the finals were not what NBA fans pretty much expected for the last 4 seasons or so. Now we're entering the 2025 NBA season, and the world of parity in the NBA conference for the West is now coming to another result right now. Let's jump into the 15 teams I do have in mind for my predictions for the NBA Western Conference standings and power rankings coming down to it. At number 15, I'm going to go ahead and start off with the bottom of the bottom for the Portland Trail Blazers. So we know as of last season that Portland was able to leave the Damian Lillard era, move on in a new direction by drafting Scoot Henderson as their point guard. And last year was a pretty low for Scoot Henderson, even though he did have 14 points a game, shooting under 38% from the field and 30% around from three-point range. A couple games in the G League, but Scoot Henderson does have the confidence, and let's see if he can bounce back within this year to play in the backcourt with Anthony Simons. There's some questions for some of these players if they do finish at the bottom of the West, which we pretty much all expect. We could see potentially that Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, and Robert Williams could be traded and be gone with, and it can start the phase 2 of the rebuild process. But the Portland Trailblazers, as of right now, do not have the team members and they don't have the fits to pretty much make a huge jump in the West. Expect a rebuild year, and for some of the young guys to pretty much build more confidence and build up on their side of things. You gotta remember, they did also, for the 7th pick, picked up Donovan Clingan from UConn for their either a backup center or be a third string upon that. So let's see within there. At number 14, I'm going to go ahead and start with the Utah Jazz. Now, the Utah Jazz, as of last season, just like the Portland Trail Blazers, were pretty much at the bottom of the bottom. They did have a hot start in the NBA, but then after that, it was not sustainable. And there's been questions now if they're going to let go of Larry Markkinen, if he was potentially going to go to Golden State, or beginning to middle of this year, he still could be traded within there. There has been talks of Walker Kessler, as they've been trying to get 2 first-round picks for him. So pretty much you have a young team, not enough pieces for them to compete out there in the Western Conference. And a lot of the main team members, they do have them on the trade block. So chemistry is going to be low. You don't have enough players that can pretty much make a huge impact on the team. And I liked them last season. They were grittier, but they needed a couple more pieces. But I'm surprised they're trying to blow up the Larry Markkinen and Walker Kessler backcourt so quickly. Even sometimes they run Larry at the 3. But yeah, that's the Utah Jazz. Not too much on their side of things for me, to be honest. All right, number 13. Now, this may be a shock for a lot of people. And you got to remember, for the Western Conference, when I name these teams that won't make the playoffs, it's going to be close. The West is going to be a battle this year. And there are some teams that are, quote-unquote, kind of respected, but a lot of these teams don't have the right pieces. And at 13, you may say, surprisingly, I'm going to put the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Golden State Warriors, ever since the last couple of seasons, they have not made the playoffs last season. Draymond Green has had a lot of explosions with players internally. Klay Thompson has been out since the offseason. They were able to bring in Buddy Hield within this team, as well as bring in Kyle Anderson. But there's a lot of pieces that need to be filled. They still don't have a true big on their team as of right now. So they're lacking in the center position. Draymond Green's going to get 1 year older. And I expect Draymond Green probably to retire not this end of this season, but potentially at the end of next season. I could see him retiring at 35 or so. The Warriors don't have a true direction. Andrew Wiggins has been on the downfall for the last year or so for his overall. And Buddy Hield is more of a 6-man coming off the bench type guy, but he will be starting at the 2. And then Stephen Curry at 36 years of age, even after an enormous USA Olympics gold medal win, especially at the last game, and potentially could have been MVP within that series and the whole USA basketball. I think Steph Curry would be fine, but within this team, it just reeks of injuries, and as well as a lot of holes they're not going to fill within there. So they're definitely not going to make the playoffs. They won't make the play-in. If you told me they're going to be around 11 to the 13th seed, or maybe even 10 to 13th, that's fine. But right now, I'm going to keep them at 13. Not a lot of internal chemistry or direction within the team. That's why I don't see a will or a fight within there. At number 12, I'm going to go over to the LA Clippers. Big surprise, Paul George is gone with They still kept Zubac for 4 to 5 seasons, still as their starting center, which I disagree with. I think Zubac will be a great backup center for championship contender, but again, the Clippers don't make many changes within these past couple of years. Kawhi Leonard probably has another year, 2 or 3 left in the NBA before he retires. Heaviness on his knees, he is injury prone, and he can't be your number one option anymore to win a championship. They still have PJ Tucker in the books, which he had internal conflicts with Ty Lue getting playing time last season. There's a lot of older guys still on there. Nicholas Batum, Norman Powell's about to be 31 within that age. James Harden's 34. I did like how they brought in Derrick Jones Jr. as a replacement. He's going to be a high flyer, explosive 3-and-D type guy for the LA Clippers. So that's a big steal right there. But besides that, this team doesn't have any true leadership and direction, and they're not going to make the playoffs. Potentially could make the play-in, but besides that, I don't see them up there. They're going to be at the bottom of the echelon of the Western Conference. You remember with the West, there's a lot of high-flying teams, young cats that are coming out there. The West is going to be a battlefield. At number 11, back to another LA team, I'm going to have the LA Lakers. Surprise, surprise, the LA Lakers are not going to make the NBA playoffs, let alone the play-in tournament. They debatably could make the play-in tournament. I'm not going to argue with that. But looking at their team of things, they've not made any moves from last season's trade deadline, nor the NBA offseason. They made no moves for picking up guys. They only drafted Dalton Knecht, and then as well as LeBron James' son, Bronny James Jr. Now, since the team's still the same, they don't have any true bigs. They still run Anthony Davis at the 5, LeBron at the 4, which I hate and I don't like. And we've seen some injuries for Jared Vanderbilt. D'Angelo Russell's always on and off. This team as their core, it's an expiration date. You know, you had the, what was it, 2020, in 2023, they made to the Western Conference Finals, which was good. Teams finally couldn't figure them out because there was a brand new team. And they had one more season in 2024, but they got bounced in the first round. They haven't made any moves. They're on the downfall. They're not going to make the NBA playoffs. LeBron's still going to be electric as a top 10 player in the league, and Anthony Davis, hopefully he can stay healthy again, but they need to make more moves. So for right now, the LA Lakers at 11. All right, at number 10, I'm going to have the San Antonio Spurs. I do expect the San Antonio Spurs to make the play-in tournament. You bring in the acquisition of Chris Paul, who's within a year or two left before he retires. He's going to get playing time as a true starter and leader within this team. I like the fit for Chris Paul. I thought he should have been on the team last season, but I'm glad he was able to make that decision directly. They were able to bring in some other veterans as well, like as Harrison Barnes on this team, who's going to be starting as their small forward, or potentially move him to the 4. Victor Wembanyama is going to be potentially even the most improved player. Second season in the league, he's going to be a gentrified all-star superstar in this game and building up muscle. I mean, this team has a good collective unit. Now you bring finally some veterans within this team. It's huge bringing in Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes and the emergence of Victor Wembanyama. So I expect the San Antonio Spurs to build up in a good direction and reach the play-in tournament. Let's see what happens after that, Okay, where are we at next? At number 9, I'm going to go ahead and throw in the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Grizzlies are one of those teams I could potentially see making the playoffs. I know they will be in the play-in tournament. John Morant's going to be arriving from last season, fully energized and at 24 years of age. They were able to go ahead and bring in their new center, Zach Edey, at 7'5", and I fully expect him to get heavy playing time and being their starting 5. And dude's got bounce even for 7'5", so they're going to be a defensive threat, and they can finally put back Jared Jackson Jr. at the 4. So I'm glad for that. A couple more moves I could finally see this team finally make. Kind of for more 2 and 3s, they do need a gentrified backup power forward, unless they're going to have Santi Aldama within there. But we'll see a little more further to the Memphis Grizzlies. I like their team. They're going to have energy, but making the playoffs, that's going to be determined. All right.